Hi Maricelle. I have one more video to wrap up our session last time. We want to talk a little bit about the rise and fall in waltz and the correction we were making. And you can find the rise and fall described in waltz in the technique book. And we have different types of rises depending on the figure that we're doing, but generally the rise in waltz is a gradual rise. We do have some figures where we use foxtrot rise, which is an early rise, and we will talk about that next time. In any case, the thing I really want to talk about is the commence to rise at the end of one. So I want to correct this overly bent knee on one, or adding to the lowering that takes place at the end of three. So the end of three, that is the lowest point. That's our lowering action. Now, while we're lowering, the weight is also moving, so that's important. We don't stand back here and stick the leg out. Sometimes people do teach that in classes, I think in an effort to get people to do some kind of rise and fall, but you can create bad habits there because now I'm sitting back behind my leg. So the weight needs to move during the lowering. I'm just keeping my leg here so you can see that my spine is beginning to travel in whichever direction I'm going to go in, or if it's backward. My spine is moving during the lowering and during the opening of the leg. This is all working together. So I think it's better that we try to be correct than to just do one element of it and end up being too static. So that can be a problem, and then that can cause the end of three to be overly deep and to not allow any swing or release of weight to happen. But there does seem to be a trend where I'm seeing a lot of dancers trying to increase the lowering into the one. Now that immediately kills your swing. Just so that I can explain what sometimes the eye sees and we don't understand. So if I've lowered at the end of three, I'm moving while I'm lowering, and then the leg will open, and then the weight will transfer into the one. Now when you arrive, you're not fully there. Okay, you continue to dance through. Now because the angle is increasing at my ankle, from my ankle to my foot, it may appear as though I'm going deeper, but you can see the difference if I just bend down or if I'm moving forward, and you're seeing an increase in the angle, and then of course the leg would swing through and we would begin to move into the next action. If I was taking my examination, describing that rise, I would have to say commence to rise at the end of one, continue to rise on two and three. Now depending on the figure, sometimes we'll also say up on three, lower at the end of three. But the commence to rise is what I'm really trying to stress here, so that you don't cut the swing by delivering all the weight quickly into the foot, going deeper, and then trying to go to the next step, because this creates that static action. So lowering and moving. If you had a bar to hold on, you could practice what I'm doing right now without taking the full stride. It's just beginning to swing my leg on the ball of the foot or with a relaxed foot, moving the weight as I'm lowering, and then passing through the opening of the leg and then into the next leg. And then the rise is commencing from one rather than staying there. If I'm going back, then we can get into another very awkward position. One problem can be staying here and sticking the leg out instead of moving and opening the leg, or the other one then going down into the hole. Now once again, what can happen on the back end of the reverse turn or the natural turn or backward actions is that we are more on the spot, or we're on the center of the turn. So what does happen here, now we're lowering at the end of three and moving, opening the leg, moving onto the foot, and at this point now I would have an opening in my hip. But once again, because my knee is dancing in this direction, but not necessarily going deeper, it's again the angle at my shin is increasing to allow my partner to go through, and again, so I'm commencing to rise at the end of one. At this point in the technique, there's no foot rise. So my heel is still in contact with the floor. But for the artistry then, as you leave that foot then you would draw the inside edge of the big toe or the inside of the foot. So I'm going to do a bad one now, lowering and going down more, and then moving to the side so that it stops, or moving back, lowering and going down even more. And now I'm stuck. Many people, when they do this, they'll also have this position where they're sticking their bum out. So we'll work on that more next time. Like I said, I see this happening a lot. I think it's in an effort maybe to make movement bigger or more dramatic, but we need to understand how to do that and still do it correctly. And if you're still lowering into the one, then you're going to cut the swing, and the swing is very important in these swing dances, obviously. So I have done a few videos on this in the studio, but I think it's a little harder to hear me there, but you can maybe see it better. So if I can find those, I'll put them in the description below so you can watch that also. Okay, so I'll see you real soon.